There are few cities which have been alive for millennia. One of them is Plovdiv, whose first inhabitants settled on the hills by the river Maritsa more than 8,000 years ago. Originally known as Kendrissos, Plovdiv is as old as the biblical Jericho, the old capital of the Mycenaean culture in Greece, and even older than the eternal city, Rome. For 8 millennia, the city has never ceased to develop, sheltering various civilizations and religions, from the ancient Thracian cult of the afterlife, through the Greek and Roman gods, to the humility of the Orthodoxy, the continuity of Catholicism, the wisdom of Islam, and the selflessness of Judaism. There is hardly a world religion not to build itself a place of worship in Plovdiv. The St. Constantine and Elena Church is located in the emblematic Old Town, next to the foundations of an 8th century temple. Built during the Middle Ages and restored and iconographed in the early 19th century, it is a unique example of Orthodox Christian art. The Holy Assumption of Mary Cathedral takes us back to the faraway 10th century. Its foundations were laid when the Byzantine Empire was at its height. The church was constantly looted and damaged during the time of the Crusaders and the Ottomans, only to be raised again at the end of the Bulgarian national revival and expanded and beautifully adorned after the announcement of Bulgaria's independence from the Ottoman Empire. Only 200 meters away from the cathedral stands the Jumaya Mosque, a monument of Islamic religious architecture with murals from the 15th century. Built at the time of Sultan Murad II, Muslims come to pray there to this very day. The building boasts Byzantine-style masonry, a definite sign of the influence of Byzantium on Ottoman architecture. 9 domes, lead-covered to withstand the vagaries of time, adorn the roof of the mosque. The sun clock of the building continues to keep time even today. Plovdiv's Jewish temple is located not far from the mosque. The first indications of the presence of Judaism in the city were reported as early as the 3rd to the 4th century, when Plovdiv was known as Philippopolis. During excavations, a discovery was made of an inscription in Greek and a drawing of a 7-branched golden lampstand, menorah, in a coloured floor mosaic dating back to the 3rd or 4th century AD. A nearby temple of another world religion shelters in its depths both its sacred rites and the sarcophaguses of notable historical figures. The Catholic Cathedral of St. Ludwig was built in the 1850s, and its 5 church bells continue to delight the centre of the city with their melodious chime. Here, a church organ was boasted for the first time in Bulgaria. The cathedral survived a fire and was restored, and now it is a functional place of worship and a great tourist attraction. It is also the final resting place of Princess Marie-Louise, daughter of Tsar Ferdinand and godchild of the Roman Pope Pius IX. Next to Catholic, Jewish, Muslim and Orthodox temples, the Armenian Church of Plovdiv also stands proud. It welcomes visitors on the very threshold of the Old Town. The Church of Surp Kevork, situated in the building of a Bulgarian temple, which was provided to the Armenian eparchy and later restructured and re-sanctified, has a separate chapel dedicated to the apostles who brought Christianity to Armenia, St. Thaddeus and St. Bartholomew. The carved gold-plated iconostasis in the central nave of the church continues to fascinate visitors even today. The religious diversity of Plovdiv borders to the south and the southeast a genuine stronghold of Christianity, the Asenovgrad Eparchy. Its monasteries and fortified churches stand side by side, the oldest of them dating back to the Second Bulgarian Kingdom. The impressive Arapovo Monastery is situated close to the village of Zlatovruch in the Asenovgrad district. Built in the 19th century, it withstood times of hardship and devastating earthquakes to stand proud today. Its tower and stone walls tell stories of humble men of the cloth and defiant freedom fighters. The beautiful frescoes in the Congregational Church of St. Nedelia were created by iconographers from the end of the 19th century. Deep in the shadow of walnut trees in the Bachar neighborhood stands the Saint Holy Virgin, the Annunciation. The Christian sacrament seems to imbue this place, while legends tell of the curative powers of its icon of the Holy Mother of God. But what is most impressive here is the mystical air of spirituality, which can be gleaned even from the stone bed of the church's little spring. Here, the most fervent believers can see a goldfish, which is why the temple is also known as the Fish Church. A literal stronghold stands only 4 kilometers away from the Fish Church. Asen's fortress, which gave the name to the town below, is a military fortification dating as far back as the Thracians and reaching its zenith during the Middle Ages. Protected by stone walls, here one can find the only preserved building of the complex, the Church of St. Holy Virgin of Petrich. It is a true pillar of Christianity, an example of religious art and a functional temple of worship. The city where life has never stopped for 8 millennia still keeps alive the history, beauty and tradition of its temples, where religious life has never stopped as well. The most interesting fact about Plovdiv is that most of its historical religious monuments are still functional today, ready to welcome both tourists and believers coming for service. It is unique when one can find comfort and experience the sights in one place. Plovdiv, come with friends. The project is financed by the Operative Programme Regional Development, executed by Plovdiv Municipality in partnership with Asenovgrad and Rodopi municipalities.